Okay. Lieutenant Colonel Samuel Kofi Ofos.
Hi friends, I'm Grace. Today I will show you Mimate's large format print.
So, we will discharge you now. We may call on you again. There are few questions that we'll need to ask you. Now call upon Honorable Minister Destinate for Health.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Honorable Kwabena Binta Akando.
I, Kwabena Minta Akando,
swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall
be the truth,
the
whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Honorable Akando, you were not here when we played the video. Do you want us to play the video again for you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Can you to confirm that whether he was the one? No, that's it. Yeah, two marshals. The second, the top guy. Yeah. Okay. So the question that they could. Yes, Honorable Akando.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
You watched the video.
I did. My attention was drawn to the fact that you wanted me to identify myself in the video,
yes.
And I have.
Okay. That confirms that you are the person in the video.
Very well, Mr. Chairman.
On the 30th of January, when the nominee for the Ministry of Health portfolio was to be vetted, were you here?
Mr. Chairman, I was the same person.
Can you tell us what happened on that fateful day? In a brief, since you have to go somewhere. Brief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I was invited by the appointment committee to appear before them on the 30th. Mr. Chairman, in the morning of the 30th, I called the clerk to the committee, Madam Gifty, to send me the program, the timetable. Mr. Chairman, when she sent me the timetable, my name was moved from on the 30th to 31st. So I quickly called her back and I said he had given me the wrong timetable. And she indicated to me that it was a right timetable, but they have reviewed it and that he was going to send me the new one and that I was supposed to be vetted on that day. Mr. Chairman, before then, immediately I saw that my name had been moved to 31st. Then I called the leadership of the committee, the appointment committee, already started the journey and arrived in Accra, and so I was at a loss. And so both sides of the committee indicated to me that I was going to be vetted. In fact, my chief whip, the majority chief whip, indicated to me that if I had not had any clear instructions from them, why should I panic? And that I should get ready to appear before the committee. So was held in the holding room for some time, and then called us to come and sit in the room. So I came in. I thought I was even going to be vetted. I saw the minister designated for transport took his seat, and then I had to come and sit close by. So immediately after the minister designated for transport, I took my seat. And then the chairman of the committee instructed that they should administer the oath. That's why I started.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Designate. Colleagues, do you have questions for the witness?
Thank you. Chairman. So, Honorable Minister Designate, video that we have seen, you kept glued to your seat. Were you hopeful that you were going to be vetted in spite of all that was going on?
Very much so, Mr. Chairman. I thought that, well, we usually disagree at the committee meetings and finally instances.
So eventually, you could not be vetted. Were you disappointed?
Very, very, very much disappointed. Mr. Chairman, I had to make room for my guests, my visitors, paramount chiefs. I mean, there were quite some number, and it caused a lot of inconveniences to me.
It didn't cost you money? It cost you only inconvenience? Okay, that will be all for now.
Thank you.
Any other colleagues? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable senior colleague, how did you feel
At the time,
when all this was going on around you? Because actually it was just right at your time that this happened. How did you feel?
Mr. Chairman, I was so much disappointed, especially with the order in which the vetting was done. Mr. Chairman, you know, in this house, we do a lot of things by seniority. So I didn't understand why my junior colleagues will be vetted, especially when we're all at the time, and then I'll be asked to wait. I didn't understand. So I didn't understand the criteria they were using. So I was so much disappointed. I must be very honest with you. And I had the opportunity to register that displeasure at a point in time. After all, this is my 4th term in Parliament. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. So with all that happened, moving forward, from what you saw, what you went.
Mr. Chairman, I think we must plan things well. And when we plan, we must go according to the plan. If they had gone according to the plan, all these things would have been avoided. Mr. Chairman, I was told that that came about as a result of the fact that a particular day's vetting couldn't take place. So if I was part of the committee, my humble view, my humble opinion was that they will reschedule that day, those people who were supposed to be vetted that day, so that it will not affect the program, the rest of the program. But if you begin to slow them, they should have, that's my opinion anyway. You may disagree with me. So I think that we should plan and plan well. Thank you.
Honorable colleague. But what is your view also on the behavior of, we are not keen on having our children pool tables tear cables and all that. But I want your view on that. We have to call a spade a spade. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, it was uncalled for. You were fighting. I think. It was embarrassing. Thank you.
Well, Honorable Minister Desi.
And to my dear coming, Mapusa and Co. None of some Jadi Baye. Dear me tree. Ah, a dear friend, Miss Alcra, Sissimi. Semina Bia and a moto. A dear me. Maybe my one in our crab, Mapusa and when I crab it. Samina in Chevu.
And Yama was in our Casabi.
No, some another. Mapusa, we make a crab, Mapusa, Mapusa, and Chevu.
Where the amount of Casabi to me, bump me do station when I was saying,
well, Mamma, what's on for Samba?
Would they see them making me do station much for with some of the A1 to the major DC where the Rianco for Gusso station where the big poor group.
What the old crowd to be back? We are the baby or son of the Hammer.
They're trying near you.
Wait.
A few moments later.
Hey, I know the judge by idea. Hello,
I may share program you crowd.
And Janet, my boy, so now say a friend is saying. Any about time, right? Where do you puka? Only some man. Hey, I said, we are coming to a baby room. I don't know how to do another year when I told you, Nupe. And you can't hold a man when you're too many cat. Can't hold a what your number, mamma. And the mamma station.
Can't so bet see me a friend A1, my buff way so 054 507 4743 054 507 4743. Now on so Joe bath soap, alata seminar, after wash, parazone, nasa wash A1 a tra kwanya, obwa seche chere, a honum A1 asuya yana ewo. Se wutu, anasa wopesa wotone mako. A1 Company Limited. A bad time, yes, semede.
A1 seminar.
Had been approved. You were there. I want to. I never sworn in. in fact.
Yeah, Chairman. Thank you very much. I know even across the other side, you have a lot of good friends. So, what were you thinking of when Honorable Minister for, who was the nominee then, Transport, he came ahead of you and he went through, but when he got to your term, what were you thinking of? Because I know you have a lot of friends.
Surprised because they had given their word that I was going to be vetted. I had already indicated that when I saw my name to 31st, I reached out to them and they said no. I mean, they have reviewed it and I was going to be. I was actually surprised, but hey, there was less I could do then.
Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. In less than a week, you've attended upon vetting committee and then special committee. report. Thank you very much. And we
Thank
wish
you,
you all
Mr.
the
Chairman.
best today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable colleagues, we were supposed to take 2 other honorable members, but I want to plead with you to allow Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs to, since they have to go for their swearing in, I want to plead with you to allow him to.
That the evidence I shall give before this court
I'll be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole
Minister for Foreign Affairs. You were not here when we.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I was here and I recall exactly what happened.
So can you tell this
like
committee?
to proceed without the video.
Thank you. Can you tell this committee what really happened on the 30th of January when
before narrating what I witnessed on that day, I would like to read to you inviting me to appear before the Appointments Committee. I believe this will establish the basis for me attending upon the committee on that day. My entry into the appointment and some members of the MPP suggest that I was smuggled in and that I and my guests, including my wife, had no business committee to be vetted. I raised the issue and the chairman of the committee and the minority leader apologized to me for that press conference and that unfortunate narrative. They had absolutely essential that I read these invitation letters and then I'm willing to also make copies available to your committee so that you can have that in your report.
Go ahead and then make copies available to our clerk.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, this invitable Samuel Okujato Ablakwa, Member of Parliament, Parliament House, Accra, and it reads, Dear Sir, invitation to attend upon the Appointments Committee. The Appointments Committee wishes to extend its warmest congratulations to you on your nomination as Minister Designate for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Pursuant to Standing Order 217, I am directed by the Chairman of the Committee to kindly invite you to attend upon the Appointments Committee on 1 and 2 of the Administration Block, Parliament House, Accra. You are kindly signature on each page and tax clearance certificate from the Ghana Revenue Authority to the Secretariat of the Appointments Committee on the second floor, job 600. And it goes on because of time to give the email address of Parliament and all of that. So I just want to, because of time, go quickly to the last 2 paragraphs. You are further requested to provide the name on 0244. Two numbers, their numbers. And then it says that the letter is signed by Mrs. Gifty Jiage Goba, the clerk to the appointments committee. Letter is Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Coverage of proceedings of the appointments committee. Schedule for vetting of nominees. Thursday, 30th January 2025. And the names are provided as follows. Nominees: Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpo, MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment. 8 a.m. is the time provided. 9 a.m. Samuel Nate George is the third name here. MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations. 10 a.m. Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpo, MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment. 8 a.m. is the time provided. 9 a.m. Samuel Nate George is the third name here. MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations. 10 a.m. The Honorable Kofi Idi Adams, Minister Designate, Ministry of Sports and Recreation. 11 a.m. Then there is lunch break at 12 noon. Then I was to come immediately after the lunch break. It's here. Fifth nominee, Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, Minister Designate, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 12:30. So they were anticipating that they will have a 30-minute lunch, and then I will be vetted at Ministry of Transport, 1:30 p.m. The Honorable Isifu Seidu, MP, Minister of State, Climate Change and Sustainability, 2:30 p.m. And the final name for that day, the 30th of January, is Mrs. Charity Gardiner, Minister Designate, p.m. to be vetted. And we waited and waited and waited until I was prompted at about 8 p.m.
Yes,
thereabout that
just a clarification.
I can now come in.
Clarification. You mentioned two letters. Is it the attachment that is the second one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please. So it's the attachment I referred to. So I want to state for the record that it is based on this invitation letter that I duly composed the delegation, which included paramount chiefs from the North Tongue traditional area, chiefs from Anglo, where I also hail from both Anglo and Tong as chairman, you know. Then the Tepahine, the paramount chief of the Tepa traditional area in the Ashanti region. I've served as Imrantia Hine in Tepa for more than 12 years now. And so I have very strong, alliances with the good people of Tepa in the Ashanti region. They gladly joined me here, my dear wife, and the members of Oral, the Oral team I'm very proud of. I'm told that the reason why I'm coming under a lot of attacks and tribulation is because of Oral, but I remain proud of the work we are doing at Oral. So the Oral team members were here to support me. So that's really the delegation I composed. We were expecting that beckon that we can now come to be vetted. So when I came in, the Honorable to wait my turn so that after Honorable Akando, I will be vetted. And then the whole hostilities began, and the DJ, as a member of parliament, because I recall paramount chiefs asking me, is that what you people do here? What's the meaning of that? I mean, and there was one chief who told me he even feared for his life. So some of them had to, quickly just escape because they didn't know, and microphones, PA systems that were being destroyed could be thrown at them. So some had to take flight. I'm even wondering if some of these people will be willing to honor an invitation again to Parliament. Into Parliament, into despicable conduct, trauma, apologizing, and it was in like adding a very, very difficult period, and it's as though somebody, and what the impression they try to create out there was as though there was a certain conspiracy with our members on the majority side. We didn't want to be thoroughly vetted, so we just wanted to be smuggled in so that we can just have an easy pass. But, this is not the first time I've been invited for vetting. It will be probably my third vetting. I've been vetted as Deputy Minister for Information, not in public office. Majority colleagues to, just be smuggled in at night and just have an easy pass. I would also like to, when it was getting late.
Honorable colleague, when in you, why didn't you also join them fighting?
No, took things calm and did not want to.
Okay, continue.
That. I was just about to respond to those who have said that, it was getting late and that I and my guests could probably have just gone home and could not have and probably we can now enter the room pursuant to the invitation letter that we have received. And for those who say that, I want to remind them of the enormous powers that committees of Parliament have under the Constitution. I want to, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, following this invitation letter, I decided on my own that because it's probably getting late, I would not enter the room when I have been asked to appear. Article 103(1) of the Constitution provides, Parliament shall appoint standing committees and other committees as may be necessary for the effective discharge of its functions. 6 then says, a committee appointed under this article shall have the
Design the perfect voice for your brand with 11 Labs.
6 then says, a committee appointed under this article shall have the powers, rights, and privileges of the High Court or a justice of the High Court at a trial for a defamation or witnesses abroad. So under Article 103 of the Constitution, when a parliamentary committee invites you, it is not a joke. You cannot on your own volition say that the Constitution is very clear. There are grave consequences if you do not appear. And Mr. Chair, Standing Order 212 also provides, quote, a committee shall have powers, rights, and privileges of the court or a justice of the High Court at a trial to enforce the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise. So, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully submit that I will have been in very serious trouble if I did not honor the invitation pursuant to Article 1036 and Standing Order 212 of the Standing Orders of Parliament. And that is why I was duty bound as a law-abiding citizen, as a member of Parliament, to appear before the Appointments Committee, just as I have done. You know, I received your summons yesterday, quite late, but I have put everything aside to be here. I will dare not, disobey the summons, and I will show up because I know the consequences of not appearing when a committee of Parliament has invited you. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to state forcefully that I was not smuggled. I had the basis to be here, an invitation letter, and then a schedule of how I will appear in an orderly manner, all signed by the clerk of the Appointments Committee, and that is why I entered the room on that.
Before my colleagues take their turn, can you just summarize what you saw on that day? You gave us what really happened on that day, but you did not tell us what you saw in the room. This committee is to investigate what really happened in the room. Thank you for giving us the background. Now I want to know what you saw in the room on that day. Because of time.
Destruction of property. As soon as I entered, I was greeted with hostility. Why say that? If you look at the schedule advertised and published, the media giving copies, you had some of the persons here who were even taken ahead of me. For example, the Honorable Joseph Bukari Nikbe. He was to have come after me, bringing him ahead of my vetting.
Did you find out why that happened? Because we were wondering, if you have this schedule, why should they vary without informing you?
Nobody gave me any information.
Okay.
Even the Honorable Akando, who was about to be sworn in before me, the schedule that I was given, and you heard him confirm that. So what he said is really true, because if you look at the schedule, Honorable Akando was to be the nominee number 5 to be vetted the next day, Friday, 31st January 2025. And this was public. published, widely circulated to the media, and we all saw it. To vet others who were not even scheduled according to their own schedule to be vetted after me. Honorable Akando, who was to come the next day, they didn't mind at all to put them ahead of me, and they were vetting them. I believe really, and I have sympathies for Honorable Akando. If I had not obeyed the chief whip and entered the room that night, I'm sure he'll have had a smooth vetting, like Honorable Nikpe was. But they felt that once I have entered and I'm in queue, as soon as they finish with Honorable Akando, I would then take my seat. They said they would just disrupt.
Well, we cannot conclude on
schedule who were to be vetted before me. They were after me, pardon me. They were all to be vetted after me, but that sometimes I don't know what the exigencies were if they made special requests. I know, for example, that Honorable Nikpe, his constituency, it will take a whole day of travel to get back. So if probably he made a special request that his chief chiefs have to go back, I'm considerate. I mean, my chiefs will just, I can have to go back. I'm considerate. I mean, my chiefs will just, I can understand that. But to the extent that they were, making room for others, and then just upon seeing me, they disrupt the proceedings, and they actually proceeded to disrupt the proceedings. I heard the minority leader say, actually threaten the clerk, Madam Gifty Jage Goba, that she dares not swear in Honorable Akando, that if you did, you will see. You are a partisan clerk. I heard these words clearly. You are a partisan clerk. Don't swear in Honorable Akando. If you dare, you see what I will do to you. Naked threats. And then he got up. The chairman was screaming, order, order. They undermined the authority of the chairman, the Honorable Bernard Ahiafo. They even pushed him aside. What I saw, and I'm sure the videos will confirm that, his table and his mic was forcibly taken out, and then they descended on the tables, and I heard the chief whip. The chief whip was the commander-in-chief of the chaos and the violence. He was directing them what to do. Muntutu, Munyi, carry this and all of that. He really decided to be the leader of the mayhem. After the minority leader had given the signals, had threatened the clerk not to sober, and then directed the violence that happened.
We didn't see that in the video, that the chairman's microphone was taken away. Who took the chairman's microphone away?
So what I recall, you had the minority MPs. I recall Jerry, I recall the Honorable Tampuli, and they were in the thick of affairs with the minority chief whip, Honorable Anodompre, directing. And I heard him clearly because the mics were on, and even though I was seated here calmly, I could see and hear all of what was going on. And he said, Muntutu, Munyiyi.
But you can't confirm who took the chairman's microphone.
I would need to refresh my memory on that.
Okay, because we don't have on record.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would like to refresh my memory on that. But I do recall that they took away his microphone, took away his table, the table that you are using now. That's the first table that was attacked, and they removed it, they pushed it, shoved the chairman aside, and they were determined to disrupt the vetting, and they were saying it that there will be no vetting tonight. They will not continue who is the MP for Bawe, I'm told. He's a new MP, so I'm still getting to know him. He then came to stand here and physically tried to stop the clerk from swearing in Honorable Akando, who was just about to be sworn in. I recall he was standing holding the Bible, waiting to be sworn in. So the minority leader was threatening the clerk, and then Jerry had come to stand by Akando. And then the fight continued here. It led to another brawl on this side. And that's when I noticed that some of the guests, some of the chiefs began to walk out, obviously fearing for their lives, began to walk, because it had now moved very closely to where the guests were seated.
Thank you very much for the narration. Honorable colleagues, question.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, this is a simple question, and I want a simple answer. So, you did not participate in the scuffle that went on. Is that right?
Yes, please. I didn't participate at all. I sat quietly. And at a point when I noticed that, no, I listened to the Honorable Majority Leader who had come in to calm temper. Yes, he did really exhibit engagement where he said that clearly we can't continue with the vetting. He was going to make arrangements with the speaker to see if probably we can continue the next day at the speaker's conference room. So when it became clear to me that the vetting will not continue following the Honorable Mahama Ayarige's presentation, I then quietly left the room.
Yes. So, will I be right if I were to suggest to you that you were terribly disappointed
to buy any kind of car from North America to West Africa? AuctionExport.com. Register. Now you can choose your dream car. Payment can be done with your credit card.
to vet you?
Yes, please. Terribly disappointed and also embarrassed as a member of parliament, because the spectacle, I mean, I believe the title honorable is earned. We earn it by our conduct. And what happened that night was really, really disgraceful, really shameful. And the sad part is that it was the same week that this same minority chief whip had brought up a matter on the floor at plenary that he had been called silly by someone and he would not accept it, and parliament must be shown respect and all of that. The same week, in just under 48 hours, this kind of conduct. So I wasn't surprised the next day brought into disrepute and become fair target. And you can't blame the general public. They say, oh, look at them. When you call them silly, they don't want to accept it. But look at their conduct, look at how they are misbehaving, you know, and that probably even silly is mild, you know. So I really was embarrassed. I was not only terribly disappointed, but I was also embarrassed. And I still feel really embarrassed. And I think that we have a lot to do as an institution and as members of parliament to dignity before went into such disrepute. It's really, really sad. Horrendous what has happened.
Asked me was poorly managed. Would you also agree with that? Follow you, ministers for vetting, also put a lot of pressure on nominees, because judging from what you indicated earlier, the numbers that came from Tepa, and from your own region, Volta region, I guess we had a huge delegation. And the cost aspect may not be so easy for nominees to bear. And keeping some of them here more than a day or two, that might also put some pressure on the chairman of the committee to at least increase the number of nominees that's supposed to be most of the appointees.
Well, thank you very much. This is a very important question, and I have served on the appointments committee for a considerable number of years. And when I saw the schedule, I could really foresee that there will be difficulties. I was really, you want to vet 8 people in a day, and before this day, the minority leader had gone on, and I saw those 2 people, and I was wondering, the way he spoke in that interview, it was clear that we will be targeted and we will spend a long time. So if that is the case, so I remember telling my chiefs that I'll plead with them. They would have to really prepare to wait for the long haul, that it may get to my turn quite late, because I could really predict that Honorable Sam George will spend a lot. They had said publicly before the vetting about how they had targeted 2 of us. They put us in the same group to appear the same day with 6 others. Then on time management, I think that as a house moving forward, and I'm glad that looking at your terms of reference, you are also supposed to make recommendations. It does appear that the minority leader is given unfettered, time. With Honorable Sam George, he just had a field day. The then minority leader, Honorable members of leadership, are extended due courtesies, but it is not a blank check, So the Honorable George said also questions with follow-ups. But if the minority leader will not be limited in the number of questions, at least reasonable time, if it's 2 or 3 hours, reasonable maximum, so that we don't have this situation where they go on and on and on one target.
On that note, you're getting ready to wind up.
And then, Mr. Chairman, let me also add that I do not think that it does the image of Parliament any good when before vetting, people are targeted. So it means that the vetting really, people already have a prejudiced mind. Some members have a prejudiced mind. It's not really about what you come and say and evidence that is adduced during your vetting. They have made up their mind already. Because before the Honorable Sam George and I appeared, there are many people who were concerned for us that, hey, then you may spend 5 days, you may spend 2 weeks, hey, then they'll really grill you and mess you up on our sins before the vetting. It doesn't help. And I think that one of your recommendations, with all due respect, should be that these comments that tend to prejudice the work of the committee, where the committee appears to become a vehicle for settling personal scores for going after people who probably the minority do not like, because of the work they have done.
On that note,
it has to be stopped.
On that note,
I think it undermines the work of the appointments committee.
Minister for Foreign Affairs, we want to. No more question. We want to discharge you, and if this committee needs you again, we'll call you. Otherwise, the Son of Man will not allow us to finish our work. Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. Honorable colleagues.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Welcome. Honorable colleagues, we have a Deputy Minister designate who want to run away, but the Honorable Member for Agotime, Ziope, is also here. Whilst we have one of the, you are discharged. We want to plead with two of our members, honorable members, to allow Mr. George Glory Opeku. Is it Opeku of our colleagues? Mr. George Opeku, before you take the oath, you are not here for the video. And so I will ask the technical department to show you a session of where you were actively involved in, no, don't show it to me. We want everybody to see it. So please bring in Glory Opoku was actively involved. And so nobody would question this committee for bringing non-MP to this committee. The reason why we brought him, I believe all of you will say it, and then we can all give our judgment.
And to my dear coming, Mapusa and Co. Nano Samina Jadibaye. Dear me pee. Ah, a dear crane, Miss Alcra, Sissimi. Samina Bia and a moto. A dear me. Medima won't in our crab, Mapusa and one I crab it. Samina in Chevro.
And your mouth was in our Casabi.
Nano Samina the Mapusa, we make a crab, Mapusa, and Mapusa, and Chevro.
Where the amount of Casabi to me, bump me drew station when I was saying,
well, Mamma Grants, what's on for a saying back?
Would they tea making me drew station much for Gusama, because I'm A1. So that major see whether the real Kofugu station on the day, where the before group. Oh, the crowd to be back, we are the baby or son of a hammer. They're trying near you. Wait.
A few moments later.
Hey, I know the Jadiba idea. Ayo, Ajawai.
Now me share program be crowd.
Any Janet my boy, so now say friend is saying. But
me do just go so and say nyasem.
Hey, any about time right. Where they puka.
Only some man. Hey, I say me yan come to baby room.
And that dey your crowd to do na dey here we na to be enu pe. And you can ho no man kwanya utumni ka. Kan ho na ya wadwo mo number ama me. Na me ti bi akodwa station ho.
Kan onsu betimi afre A1 ewa ahomabofo yi so 054 507 4743 054 507 4743. Now on so Joe Bass Soap Alata Seminar After Wash Parazone na se wo hwehwe A1 akira kwan a obwa sechechere ehonnom A1 asuye na ewo se wutu ana se wo pese wo to ne mako A1 Company Limited abatan yatsi asemde
A1 seminar
Hey everyone, it's your boy Naj. Please check out my new song on Audio Mac, Stupid Me. Peace out.
The rights and privileges of the High Court or a justice of the High Court at a trial for A, enforcing attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath, affirmation, or otherwise, compelling the production of documents and issuing a commission of requests to examine witnesses. I believe you heard what the Constitution says and the standing orders of this House. Mr. George Glory Opeku.
Yes, Chairman, I do.
So you are under oath and you're also appearing before a committee, special committee, to investigate what happened here during the vetting of some nominees of His Excellency the President by appointment. A video, a gentleman who was wearing white. I don't know whether that is George Gregory Opeku. Glory Opeku. Can you confirm whether the gentleman we saw in the video Was you? Recorded video at all?
No, please.
Mr. George, who are you and what were you doing here on that fateful day, since you are not a member of parliament?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that fateful day, I entered into the vetting room with Honorable Blakwa. I came with him to support him through his vetting time.
Of those the 10 members of his entourage that were supposed to be in this room with him?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any letter to that effect to know 10 or 20 or the number of people that will be here with him.
So, will you, that you were part of his entourage that came to witness his vetting on that day?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did he give you any invitation letter personally, or he called you to be part of his vetting?
No letter. I call and congratulate him, and he said the 30th will be his vetting day, so if I can make a time.
Do you have any text message or any evidence from him that he called you, he sent you a text message? Because I have a text message that the caucus chairman, he has invited all of him.
No, Mr. Chairman.
On that note, you came on your own to witness. Before are you aware, heard what the Constitution says and the standing orders of this House, Mr. George Glory Opeku?
Yes, Chairman, I do.
So you are under oath, and you're also appearing before a committee, special committee, to investigate what happened here during the vetting of some nominees of His Excellency the President by appointment. A video, a gentleman who was wearing white. I don't know whether that is George Gregory Opeku. Glory Opeku. Can you confirm whether the gentleman we saw in the video was you? Not video at all?
No, please.
Mr. George, who are you and what were you doing here on that fateful day, since you are not a member of parliament?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that fateful day, I entered into the vetting room with Honorable Blakwa. I came with him to support him through his vetting time.
Of those the 10 members of his entourage that were supposed to be in this room with him?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any letter to that effect to know 10 or 20 or the number of people that will be here with him.
So, will you, that you were part of his entourage that came to witness his vetting on that day?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did he give you any invitation letter personally, or he called you to be part of his vetting?
No letter. I call and congratulate him, and they said the 30th will be his vetting day. So if I can make a time.
Do you have any text message or any evidence from him that he called you, he sent you a text message? Because I have a text message that the caucus chairman, he has invited all of him.
No, Mr. Chairman.
On that note, you came on your own to witness. Before are you aware that on this table, if the chairman did not invite you to sit here, as I did today, you are not permitted to be where members of parliament are supposed to be? Are you aware?
No, Mr. Chairman.
So for the emphasis and for education, this committee sitting is just like parliament or the plenary. Now, and so we are going to look at you as a stranger in parliament on that day. And if, do you agree to and you want a lawyer, we can allow you to bring a lawyer so that you come back on Monday.
I would like to know that I'm with invitation to the vetting room. Is that what you are saying?
I'll repeat myself again. When a committee of parliament is having meeting, and I'll read it for you from the standing orders, it is assumed that parliament is sitting. And so on that day, our standing order says you were a stranger in the chamber. Because you are not a member of parliament, where MPs were, you are not supposed to be there. And my question is, are you aware?
I'm not aware, my lord. Oh, Mr. Chairman.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And there are consequences of disobeying. Do you want to come with a lawyer so that we can extend your time to Monday?
I would like to come with a lawyer.
Honorable members, I would want you to extend an invitation to our colleague and ask that he comes back on Monday, because there are legal issues that we need to sort out. And then we'll also invite Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa to come with him on Monday again to testify whether he indeed invited him. Members of Parliament. Our standing orders talks about strangers. And if you are a stranger in Parliament, there are consequences of being discharge him, and then we can take him on Monday. Is that okay? Mr. George Glory Opeku, yeah? And then we'll also invite our colleague, Honorable Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We'll now have Honorable Deputy Minister designate. Deputy Minister, Local Government, Chieftains.
For this committee,
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue
shall
be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
So help.
Honorable Rita now Odole. So first of all, let me congratulate you on your nomination as Deputy Minister Designate for Local Government, Chieftains and Religious Affairs. Congratulations.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
You were not here when we played the video, and so I don't know whether you would like to watch the video first before we go ahead.
Honorable Chairman, I would want to watch the video. Thank you.
Much, Honorable. Since, please, have you watched the video?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Can you tell this committee whether you identify yourself in that video?
Honorable Chair, I identify myself, but I saw the back of myself, my hair and a little of my cloth.
Oh, so that was not you. Is that you?
Me. It's me in the video. Thank you.
So can you tell us?
Appointments committee. So I was here that day for the vetting of honorable nominees of His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Now Odolesowa, can you tell us exactly what you saw or you witnessed on that day? In summary.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We had carried on vetting to a level, and the next person to be vetted was Honorable Akando. It was agreed that he will be vetted that day. But when it got to his turn, for me, I was sitting there as a member waiting to hear from leadership. And then I saw that the argument started. And so I was watching and seeing what was going to transpire. Then I realized that our brothers on the other side said they were not going to agree for us to continue. And so what I also saw was that they started beating the table and said they were not going to agree, and they were pulling the table that they were taking carrying chair the back of the committee to swear in Honorable Akando, which the ranking and his team were also against it, asking that she doesn't do that. And so I'll speak to that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable colleagues, do you have any question for the witness?
Honorable colleague, in your view, from where you are sitting, I know you tend to sit on the opposite side of where I am sitting, where our clerk is sitting. Usually that is your seating position. At what point did you anticipate that this situation was getting a bit out of hand?
Honorable Chair, at the point where we wanted to get sitting there watching to see what was going to transpire.
So did you make them calm down or stop what they were doing or something?
Themselves. So I sat quietly, looking on and hoping that nothing untoward will happen. Thank you.
Have you ever felt there were some under the committee members?
Thank you. Normally we do meet before sitting starts, and views are heard from both sides, and so most of the time we come to an agreement before we start sitting. So that's what I can say.
Thank you. No further questions for now, Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable colleague, just Since the appointments committee started sitting, was that the day that you actually vetted the highest number of nominees?
If my memory will serve me right, it would have been that day, but because we didn't continue, and we are all aware that we didn't sit on Tuesday, so we had a backlog that we tried to balance here and there. And so we agreed that for Honorable Akando, so we thought that I would say that was the day I think we had the highest number. Thank you.
Did you feel unsafe at any
seat? And one thing I want to say is that when you look at this hall and the number of people that come in, if there's any danger, where do you pass? And I didn't know what was going on outside this room, and so I didn't want to risk going out. That's why you saw me seated quietly in my chair. Governing this appointment, vetting, it's not the best. And so where you have visitors or guests of appointees or nominees also joining in the arguments, I saw some of them moving from where they were supposed to be and coming around the table, and I don't think that's the best. So if we can consider even the in and out and the number of people coming in, I think it will be the best for us. I really felt...
I would like to ask you, we know among the leadership on the other side, we have one woman who's a first deputy. Is a woman, and I saw you sitting here. How was a composer at that time?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll be wrong if I can say I can't watch the video, how her composure was. Thank you.
I ask this question because with all the things that are happening, probably we could avert some of the situation because of the calm nature of women. So looking at the whole episode on telly, I could see it was just in the midst of the men within, where all these things were happening. So I was asking myself, even though, but my part was a bit calm. So my expectation was that I was expecting something from, because I always want to advocate for women in leadership.
I want to overrule this one because she's not here and she's billed to come on. No, she's supposed to be here today. She's not here. But since she's not here physically, I want to beg of you to ask different question.
Chair, the question, because I just wanted to find out the mood, whether you overheard her coming, the leadership of the minority side, because that was my expectation. And because he wasn't on there, they didn't have the mic, so I couldn't hear what she said. So that is what I wanted to find out.
Yeah, say anything at all.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. She was seated, like he said, right in the midst of them, and
the noise.
the noise, so I didn't hear.
Thank you very much.
The clerk to the committee was threatened, and I don't think that's the best for us. Having the mediators or patients, I think the men should also consider us and deal with us well.
Well, the minority leader apologizes to us, even on the floor of the House. So, any more questions? Otherwise, we'll discharge.
And because you're on the committee, I'm going to extend this question to you, but only if you can answer it. Was there any discussion in any of your pre-sittings to modify the schedule based on the fact that you had a backlog to deal with? And was this communicated to the nominees, to your knowledge?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yeah, we met and then we agreed that we need to modify the arrangements, the line, since some of the questions went very far. I think the time was of essence, and so in as much as we agreed, I won't say, I don't know.
If you can recall, what was the agreement? With regards to scheduling?
It was agreed that we'll add some of the Tuesday to the Wednesday, and then some of the Tuesday even to the Thursday. So that's what I can recall.
Thank you so much for attending upon the committee. You are humbly discharged. We'll call upon you when the need arises. Can we have Honorable Charles Agbeve? Then after that we'll have the Marshal, and then we'll have Honorable who I just won, Emiliata, Minister for Fisheries.
I, Charles Agbeve,
swear by the Almighty God.
Swear by the Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
Touching the matter in issue.
Touching the matter in issue.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the
truth.
truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much, Honorable Charles Agbeve. You were not here. Were you here when we watched the video? You watched part of it. We've looked at your name in the list. Now, what were you doing here on the 30th of January?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the 9th Parliament does not have a select committee on health. I was a member of the select committee of health in the 8th Parliament. And so the Chief Whip informed us members will be invited. And so I was invited by Chief Whip together with Dr. Sebastian Sandari. I recall the then deputy ranking, Dr. Mark Nawani, and Honorable Hutoje, that the four of us should make ourselves available. When we come, then two of us, our names will be given to the chairman as subject matter members. So that's why I found myself here.
So what happened on that fateful day, since you were here as a member on subject matter committee? What happened here?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I recall I was seated where the Joy FM microphone was. And right after Honorable nominee designate for transport, he would take his seat. So I took my seat. Next to me was Dr. Sandari, and we were comparing notes, what we were going to be asking the nominee. So when Honorable Akando was called to take his seat, he immediately sat down. The minority started agitating that we won't agree. We won't agree. Then the chairman requested that the clerk administer the oath. Immediately, he asked the clerk to administer the oath. The minority leader started yelling harsh words at the clerk. That you, the clerk again, you partisan watching. Then arise. Now, when you have more than 2 microphones on, no other microphone can be switched on. So it was difficult to actually block the administering of the oath.
You said that was a strategy they used to block.
Yes, because
who used that strategy to block?
Honorable the minority chief whip, he quickly pressed on the consuls, and once I come, whatever he said was heard loud, because he had his microphone on, he had the second one next to him on, he had the third one far away from him on. So anything he said was now loud, and all of us were hearing it. Then the pulling of the table started. In fact, the first thing that happened was the pulling of the table. When the table was pulled, the chairman was still seated. The consul right in front of him is where you are, where your consul is. It's exactly where. And once it fell, we saw the damage. Then I saw my chief whip here, and I saw my chief whip. In fact, before then, Honorable Jerry had come here to try and stop the oath being administered. But I saw 2 colleague MPs, in fact, first timers. I could no longer sit on my chair. So I moved to go and separate them because I thought it was getting out of hand. When I got there, I've seen majority leader already there separating them. So now the oath can be administered. It was there I realized that, the thing has gone beyond just switching on the consoles. If you watch me, I was asking Honorable Akando and the clerk to try switching their own on because I had fixed 2. But they could try it, it was not working. So I tried the third one. That was when I saw the table coming towards me. We sat on the table because it was going to hit me actually. if you want the video, I jumped and sat on the table and I helped the table to come and state property. When I got onto the table, before I realized, oh, this time around the table had moved and it was in there. Let's move to our place. Let's move. One moved, and then I came back to my sitting position. And so that's what brought me into the center of the action. First, the attack on my chief whip, who I thought was unfairly being attacked, and I needed to go separate and possibly rescue him, and then also try to fix the microphones that had been pulled out.
Thank you very much for that account. I watched the video, but I didn't know the intention behind. I thought in it, we'll further watch the video. I'll leave my colleagues to ask questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Those breaches in this room.
Honorable Chair, there were a lot of breaches. A lot. Before, in fact, it was virtually impossible. So I had to go down, move through the downstairs, and then come up through this section. Because they're unbearable. We had almost, I think if I'm not mistaken, 4 of the nominees' supporters all packed here. And that was the first breach, because as far as I know, when you finish yours, you must move out. But those who were yet to be vetted had all their supporters up here. And that was the first breach I saw. The second breach I also saw was we were too many in the hall. This is the first breach was outside. Inside the vetting room itself, all the alleys of the where the visitors were supposed to sit were packed. People were standing. And I thought it was just too much that day. Then the third breach I also saw, I thought in Parliament, I have witnessed what happened 2017 on the floor. I had witnessed what happened when it should not happen ever again in this thing. And I will say, let them carry their sins. That's what they normally do. But this time around, when I realized, what I realized was that they obviously it was going to be a breach, and once that is breached, conflict. Then finally, and we had started a scuffle. If the police had not come in early, they may have been encouraged to join, because they came here to support a nominee. Fortunately, when Jerry came here, Honorable Jerry came here, he was pushed away. So they were now around the nominee, including 2 other MPs. supporting him. And so if the fight had continued, and then they were identifying that we those here were now moving in, they would have joined us. And it would have been too bad. I thought we could have averted it. If Mr. Chairman will allow me, the following day, when the nominee was invited and asked to come for vetting, I realized that there was absolute calm here. Only 10 members were invited and only 10 Saturday. And so you could see clearly that there was clear sanity on this side until the minority walked in and started again. But this time around, we managed to handle it.
All right, thank you very much for your viewpoint and for your rendition. Moving forward, you experienced it. What would you recommend moving forward in terms of? You mentioned a bit about what maybe could be done, but moving forward with your experience and going through appointment committees, seeing these things done, what do you think should be done? And also maybe with crowd management, because now we have moved from just visitors to crowds. If you say the corridor was choked, then I wonder what was happening even on the ground, outside. Because usually people struggle to want to come upstairs to see what is happening, what things.
I have observed, once your name is mentioned, if I'm not careful, the whole constituency will descend here in Parliament to come and witness your vetting. You can only manage with a few numbers. When you manage with those few numbers, others will find their way in here anyway. So you can't stop the crowd. What I think we can do is to still maintain the 10 that must come into the hall. What you can do is to keep the large crowd at the members and restrict every other visitor to that point. Because even moving all the way into this square here is a security risk to our work here and to the workers of the parliamentary services and ourselves. But when you keep them down with a very big screen where they could watch what is going on here live and where they can be entertained and refreshed, I don't think we'll have too much problem. The crowd management will be far, 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 far better. And that is one recommendation I think Parliament needs to look into moving forward, look it or not. You can't stop the crowd. They will find their way here at all costs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable, let me find out from you. I've averted the situation if the police had come in earlier.
The situation would have been much better. The situation would have been much better. Before the police came in, I saw the marshals, the two, but they were helpless. What I saw they did quickly was to get the chairman out. That's the first deputy speaker. To get him out and protected. Then they came back to see how they can manage the situation before the police came in. The presence of the police please try to calm down the situation. First of all, by stopping others joining in, and then also trying to stop other government properties from being destroyed. But members were, our minority colleagues were putting chairs on the tables. And when our colleagues removed them, they put them back. Them from getting further consoles destroyed. And so I thought the response of the police could have been much quicker. Then number two, there were police around. But these were bodyguards of MPs. And so they are restricted to certain situations. And so they were interested in protecting their MP than coming into of the separation until the police from the unit, Parliamentary Police Unit, came in.
Were you okay with that?
Considering that, because it was a crowd situation, because it was late, we didn't have more colleagues coming in. We, those who were here, and a few later saw what was happening, that came in. But by the time they came in, most issues have been resolved. By then, majority leader was talking to them. Absolute sanity prevailed. But the police were also a bit careful. This is a member of Parliament. He's taking a chair and putting it on the table. How do you handle it? So you can see, even in trying to handle that, there was some diplomacy. He goes for it. When the member of Parliament wants to come for the chair again, then he shields him from taking the chair. It was a difficult situation for them.
Honorable Member, I saw this our reverse citizen, Honorable Ostengame. Did you see him?
Yes, I saw him. I saw him adopted. Here. So when the whole thing started initially, he moved in there and tried speaking to. My attention was then taken to another member trying to put a chair on the table and trying to pull a table. So I didn't know what transpired again. But I saw him very clearly trying to calm things down.
Chairman, I believe that this revered man should be invited as well to testify, because you know he's an expert within that space. So I suggest that let's get him to be involved.
Honourable Chair, thank you. Honourable colleague, your ID cards being checked and in order to have access to this building, based on how it's being checked.
Thank you very much for the question. I didn't come through the main door downstairs. I came through the back door from annex. And so when I climbed, I saw a colleague on the first floor. So I walked with him. He was going towards the new, the entrance. So I escorted him to that position before I climbed through that side. So I didn't come through the staircase, through the main entrance, no. So I wouldn't know what security measure was there at the entrance. But when I climbed down, I didn't see any visible visitors tags on them. And the truth is, some were chiefs with their entourage protecting them. And so when I was trying to push my way through, they saw my tag visibly, but they will not budge, they will not give way. So I didn't want to push further, so I just went downstairs. I know my way around, so I went down the next floor and then climbed up to the other end. But there were no visible tags on them.
Thank you. My final question. You mentioned that this corridor was packed. Did you find non-members on any other floors as you tried to make your way into the vetting room?
They were on the staircase. Not on the floor, but on the staircase.
There are two sets of staircases. Which one?
The one used through the main entrance.
Correct. Very well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Charles Agbeve, for attending upon this committee. When we need you, we'll call you again. Thank you, and you are honorably discharged. Next time, don't be moving from your seat to go and be. We have two other witnesses here. The Marshal, Deputy Marshal, and then, you are honorably discharged.
Thank you very much.
You have the Deputy Marshal and the Minister for Fisheries. Deputy Marshal, can you please take then we'll have our Minister finally. I think after the Minister, we will close for the day, and then we'll address the press.
Wing Commander Frederick Bauer.
Swear by the Almighty God.
Swear by the Almighty God.
That the evidence I shall give before this committee.
That the evidence and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You were here when we played the video.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Wednesday and today.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Did you see Wing Commander Bauer retire in any of the videos?
Mr. Chairman, I did.
So that means that he was here on 30th of January 2025.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Deputy Marshal, can you tell us what happened on that fateful day from your point as Deputy Marshal?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The day in question saw a lot of supporters of nominees filling up virtually every around the funeral grounds areas. And some of these were prominent people, and I'm even suspecting chiefs. It was that. So on the evening of that day, we had put in place measures to make sure that only nominated people would come up to this room. But then, what we suspected happening, we were coordinating all the efforts we had put in place. But then chiefs would come with entourage. People from the ministries would come, and somehow, they managed to get access up here, even though it wasn't probably the time for their nominee. So we realized that the corridors were getting full. Down there, as we were trying to control, was also getting full. We tried preventing the drumming and dancing within the forecourt just outside the staff entrance. These were the activities happening. But around 21:45, we came up here and noticed that there was some disagreement among committee members as to whether vetting was to continue or vetting was to stop. Now, what my concentration was then to look out for strategies to try and prevent the situation from escalating into fisticuffs. So we're looking around to see what was going to happen and how best we could solve the situation. And in most of the cases, we had to get inside to just try to prevent one MP from getting physical access to the other because that would then be fighting. That was what we were concentrating doing And virtually, we brought in some of our parliamentary broken and all that stuff. So, Mr. Chairman, basically, that was a bit of a summary of the events of the day.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, and your short testimony says that there were a lot of people around occupying the whole place and even the car parks and then the funeral grounds. All these people who came, the question that I want to ask is, were they all properly admitted into the presence of Parliament? Were they all admitted? Because Parliament, we have a gate, and the gate is supposed to keep people at bay. I have seen people who have come and then you have been able to stop them. Whether they are coming as protesters or they are coming at whatnot, I've seen it. And so that day, the people who came, were they all properly admitted into the presence of Parliament?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on the day in question, what we tried doing was to prevent buses from busing people right into the compound. But admittedly, the entire parliamentary process does not belong to us. The state protocol area where funerals are conducted is packed there, and we virtually have no idea. And sometimes these funerals can go deep into the night. So on the question of whether all these were properly admitted, Mr. Chairman, the whole environment is not ours. Had it been that we have an area carved out called Parliament, then we could probably ensure that strict access is granted into that space. But people are not particularly prevented from walking to the precinct because there are other institutions that we occupy the general area with.
So are you saying that it is not possible for the Marshal Department to put in place any measures to control the area that you would have considered to be the area for Parliament as against the whole is a place where you can say that from this point we are in charge? Do you have any sighting?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We've made proposals, and I'm sure it's being considered by management, but it's still in the drafting point. So if that is considered, I'm sure a team might be constituted to see where best can be carved out and what measures we can put in place to make sure that there's a certain area we can at least have effective control. Are not then find their way into our close perimeters.
Finally, we understand, we have been made to understand as a committee, the cards were issued to allow were left outside, and there was nothing to use in controlling them.
We reconfigured the foyer down there with a number of chairs. About 200 chairs were organized there with television screens on to transmit this process live for those who were coming and maybe it wasn't their turn to come in. But Mr. Chairman, the numbers we had on that day, chiefs came. I mean, a chief would come with one invitation card, but he had 20 people following him. They are well accosted customarily. Even the police were put in there to stop them. Sometimes, as a matter of traditional courtesy, would end up, giving way for them to come because some of these people were elderly. from Damango, and these were the challenges they had down there, even though we had put measures in place to prevent that if you didn't have a card, invitation card, you wouldn't find yourself into this room. But if a chief comes and his entourage is about 15, there's one card. Chiefs do not work alone. Those were the challenges.
And so, would you say that the scheduling of the nominees in terms of the numbers for a particular day contributed to the large number of people who were around?
Mr. Chairman, I may not be able to talk to the scheduling of nominees on that day because my concentration was how best we could keep order here and make sure we don't have things escalating.
Rank Commander, just out of curiosity, is there an official document that is handed over to them of any nominees?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The understanding is that only invitees, people who have been given invitation cards, and these cards are supposed to be 10, are the ones allowed into the vetting room to support their nominees. But Mr. Chairman, this is the people's house. If visitors say they are coming in to visit their MP, it becomes difficult for us without prior authorization to deny them that access. What we've noticed is that they say they come, unfortunately, sometimes with the support of the MPs.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll ask the question again. Is there a document that comes to the marshal on any given day? Officially, do you have a list of who is supposed to be here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that document counts. But on this particular occasion, I think the certainty of who was to be vetted on the particular day, clarity wasn't there. And what I noticed was that on the Wednesday, we had to go and bring in Oliver Vemaho. In fact, I had to take the summon to him. And so sitting was suspended. Was not done on that particular day. So I suspected that the leftover of in the compound already, and where to sleep was a challenge. In fact, when we were going home on Wednesday, myself and my colleague, we realized people were making do with the spaces just to find a place to sleep, and it was pathetic because most of these were elderly females.
To the Marshal's Department stating that there was a shift and there would be more people, and who those people were. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
They contributed to the large number of people who were around.
Mr. Chairman, I may not be able to talk to the scheduling of nominees on that day because my concentration was how best we could keep order here and make sure we don't have things escalating.
Rank Commander, just out of curiosity, is there an official document that is handed over to them of any nominees?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The understanding is that only invitees, people who have been given invitation cards, and these cards are supposed to be 10, are the ones allowed into the vetting room to support their nominees. But Mr. Chairman, this is the people's house. If visitors say they are coming in to visit their MP, it becomes difficult for us without prior authorization to deny them that access. What we've noticed is that they say they come, unfortunately, sometimes with the support of the MPs.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll ask the question again. Is there a document that comes to the Marshal on any given day? Officially, do you have a list of who is supposed to be here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that document counts. But on this particular occasion, I think the certainty of who was to be vetted on the particular day, clarity wasn't there. And what I noticed was that on the Wednesday, we had to go and bring in Oliver Vemaho. In fact, I had to take the summon to him. And so sitting was suspended. Was not done on that particular day. So I suspected that the leftover of in the compound already, and where to sleep was a challenge. In fact, when we were going home on Wednesday, myself and my colleague, we realized people were making do with the spaces just to find a place to sleep, and it was pathetic because most of these were elderly females.
To the Marshal's Department stating that there was a shift and there would be more people, and who those people were. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
None that I saw. I might need to confer with my colleague to see if he saw that formal communication. But to my person, I did not see that. Because on that Wednesday, it was late when we took the summon to the gentleman.
Please do confirm and let the clerk know before we finalize our report. We want it to be part of the report.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would like to find out...
And that's the normal visitors procedure. Once you enter the precinct, you are directed to the Parliamentary Visitors Center, where some details of yours are taken, and then you are given a visitor's tag. And then you go to the particular floor or particular MP you are looking for. But on this particular set day, I think even way beyond the 1700 hours that normal visitors come in, others had trunked in. And frankly speaking, they didn't all go through the visitors center to get identification tags. So we kept most of those ones at bay down there, and they were in the foyer watching TV and watching the proceedings.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one question. We also a stranger among the peacekeepers. He said he was there as a peacekeeper. Let me ask you, in future, would you recommend that we move the vetting process to a more secured places, especially Job 600 up there, if we can move the vetting process from this place to a more secure place so that it may restrict the number of people. Naturally, it will be easier to control than an open space like this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wouldn't say anywhere in Job 600 will be more secure than here. But talking about a more secured venue where crowd control measures could be firmly is being looked at. So I'm sure when some consideration is given to it, communication will go up to the board and
supposed to provide security to members of Parliament as well as the precinct and properties of Parliament. From one end to the other, to the extent that he was even... Okay, so I'll leave that one. Now, did you notice that there was a stranger in the house?
Mr. Chairman, personally, I didn't until today. The fact is that our security personnel are all not still very familiar with all the MPs, especially the members coming in for the first time. And so we had encouraged all of them to always wear their identification tags. But, Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, some of them just do not wear those tags. Because when you wear those tags from a distance, our security personnel are able to know whether this is a staff, or this is a member of Parliament, or this is a visitor. So we'll probably also still use this platform to appeal that even if it's difficult to wear, but we keep encouraging that you just wear it for us, because it's difficult to identify everybody. And myself and my senior colleague, we could not be in one place at all the times. We divided the work. We're going around to supervise the measures we've put in place. So unfortunately, I did not notice that stranger. And in fact, I didn't even know until he happened.
Marshal, do you think that perhaps your response could have been quicker? When the chaos started and you entered, you were not in the room at that time, were you?
Mr. Chairman, and when we entered, what we usually want democratic dispensation, what we try to do when we enter and members of parliament are screaming to assist with that, because if he, and in observing that, they don't have.
That still didn't answer my question, whether you think your response was on time or a bit delayed.
Mr. Chairman, it's a very difficult question for me because in the other uniformed police to come in. But Mr. Chairman, we had police in civil clothing who work with PPU. They were all in the room. We're all trying to do separations, calm down issues, try to mediate. I had to pull a number of MPs to the adjoining offices just to convince them that there was no need for us to go into this because cameras were watching, and some of it worked. So those are some of the things we're doing behind the cameras and behind the scenes. But as to whether the intervention was early or timely, the difficult thing is that if we move in 20 or 30 policemen into the room, it may be seen as intimidation. It may be seen that you're trying to intimidate the process, and so you are not trying to allow the process to take its normal course. So we do all this balancing, and when we realize it's getting out of hand, then we move in the
schedule. In fact, are you given the schedule for vetting, typically?
Save time creating content and generate a high-quality clone of your voice with 11 Labs. Change
to weigh those tags. Because when you weigh those tags from a distance, our security personnel are able to know whether this is a staff, or this is a member of parliament, or this is a visitor. So we'll probably also still use this platform to appeal that even if it's difficult to wear, but we keep encouraging that you just wear it for us, because it's difficult to identify everybody. And myself and my senior colleague, we could not be in one place at all the times. We divided the work. We're going around to supervise the measures we've put in place. So unfortunately, I did not notice that stranger. And in fact, I didn't even know until he happened.
Marshall, do you think that perhaps your response could have been quicker? When the chaos started and you entered, you were not in the room at that time, were you?
Mr. Chairman, and when we entered, what we usually want democratic dispensation, what we try to do when we enter and members of parliament are screaming to assist with that, because if he, and in observing that, they don't have.
That still didn't answer my question, whether you think your response was on time or a bit delayed.
Mr. Chairman, it's a very difficult question for me because in the other uniformed police to come in. But Mr. Chairman, we had police in civil clothing who work with PPU. They were all in the room. We're all trying to do separations, calm down issues, try to mediate. I had to pull a number of MPs to the adjoining offices just to convince them that there was no need for us to go into this because cameras were watching, and some of it worked. So those are some of the things we're doing behind the cameras and behind the scenes. But as to whether the intervention was early or timely, the difficult thing is that if we move in 20 or 30 policemen into the room, it may be seen as intimidation. It may be seen that you're trying to intimidate the process, and so you are not trying to allow the process to take its normal course. So we do all this balancing, and when we realize it's getting out of hand, then we move in the
schedule. In fact, are you given the schedule for vetting? Typically, is your department given the schedules?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are given a schedule for vetting.
So you were given for that day as well?
I explained the circumstances of that day that I would verify with my colleague and get back.
Okay. Do you screen people for, because of a knife, something? Did that take place?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. The challenge with those crowds is just one of the issues the honorable member has mentioned, and we're looking at measures at which, even from the main entrance, all such screening will take place. But like I mentioned earlier, having complete and thorough screening of people from the main entrances to the Princess of Parliament, where we do not completely own, becomes a bit of a challenge.
Okay, so my last question is, as marshals, you see to the whole premises. But there are times when people, even on ordinary days, they come into the lifts and they can meander their way through all the corridors and all that. That also falls within your purview doesn't it? And what are you doing about that?
Mr. Chairman, it does. Most of our corridors have access doors, which can be opened with your ID card and badges. But respectfully, I don't know about honorable members, but most staff sometimes don't use this access, don't use the access badges to open the doors. And even in some of the floors in Job 600, realize members, because they don't wear, some of them don't wear their ID cards, which have access to open the corridors. The doors are left opened. And so one visitor who says is coming to second floor ends up at the 8th floor. Because ideally, when you go to the visitor center, you are only directed to that particular floor. And there are receptionists on each floor to help you access that particular MP and step out. But the challenge is that the visitor comes and then decides that he has remembered another MP he wants to see on another floor. And then the floor door is opened. So he might just end up getting there. We're trying to put in place measures to make sure we have men on all the floor. But as it is now, because of challenges in manpower and resources, we're not able to effectively.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your insight.
Wind Commander Bauer, I have only one question for you. From some of their colleagues were on, they have two of them who were to be grilled or who do not allow them to go through the vetting. These are all early warning signals. But do you have any intelligence in here that picks signals that there was going to be chaos on that day?
Mr. Chairman, the intelligence we picked was that we were going to be overwhelmed with crowd. That much we did. So we requested for assistance from the police to give us more men. But even then with that, but as to whether there will be chaos on the vetting room, I would see that as maybe one particular member may be given a lot of questions. We didn't anticipate the chaos being members of parliament getting at each other.
I hope you have reported this to management.
Mr. Chairman, that is true.
Okay. So we can get that report too from management to aid us in writing our report.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we'll talk to him and see whether we can forward same to you.
Report on the chaos. Yes. Thank you for attending upon this committee. Our sister take an oath. I don't know whether she would like to watch the videos first. Okay.
To my dear coming, Mapusa and Co. Nano Samna Jadibai. Dear me pee. Ah, a dear crane, Miss Alcra, Sissimi. Samina Bia Namoto. A dear me. Maybe my one in our crab, Mapusa and one I crab it. Samina in Chevro.
And your mouth was in our Casabi.
Nano Samana de Mapusa, we can crab ya kama pusa nko mapusa se ntwa rompo
we dey ma okasa nyati me bampo me dru station ma wosen
wa mama no kura so asan fo fro sen ba
we dey ti dem kan me dru station ma twa gu samara bi so me say friend A1 so the meje bi si we dey we ankrofo gu so station no dey we dey be pu agro pa
we dey o crowd bi ba we dey be o san be ha ma
we dey try ne yan hwe
wait Edian.
A few moments later.
Hey, I know the judge by idea. Ayo, Ajawai
507 4743 054 507 4743. Now on so Joe Bass soap alata seminar after wash power zone. Na se wo hwehwe A1 na kira kwan a obwa se chechere ehonnom A1 asoye na ewo se wutu anaasɛ wopɛ sɛ wotɔ ne maako A1 Company Limited abatan yɛte asɛm de
A1 seminar.
And so the usual practice is the nominee will be invited and will take the oath. So we were like, clerk, administer the oath. And the clerk was straight-faced and can you administer the oath so that the vetting will start? And she said, I recall. She said, no, I am waiting for instructions from my leadership. So we were here, and then by the time I realized on the table, the next thing I see some of the members of the minority walk over here where Honorable Akando was standing, and they were surrounding him. And that was when I got alarmed, and shoved the minority MPs away from Honorable Akando, and they took position. So that was when I was talking Parliament. What is this? Talk Parliament. What is all this about?
Were you traumatized?
I was
Not surprised.
I was like, hey. Not frightened. We've seen some before, but I did not, for the life of me, expect that from having just finished one vetting, one person, and we're just moving on to the next person, and suddenly all hell breaks. Don't know what kind of all hell breaks loose, and I was amazed to see a whole member of Parliament carrying a chair and putting it on the table. The next time I saw pushing tables away, I saw a microphone being shifted away. I was, and in all of that, what amazed me was the sitting down, so very professional. I mean, she has class.
You seems to not to be clearly here on that day from your narration. You only, even though you were here physically.
And sitting here and
register for free.
Local food papa edidia. When it chem our traffic foods. Yes, honum ana benya local food papa di say it's yozafi anadie hu ene ne yekeka ho no. Offer traffic foods sa unsabeka bi say ye engagement naming ceremony ene ne yekeka ho no. Sempo opese yemra ho ne yemanu aduane no e wo ho nso emfama na fa som wa ho ani nyina ye. Your number no and the screen as no ubetumi afa no place you order your delivery services and so ube hu ye the Church of Pentecost 6200 Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland Avenue. So UK, US, Canada ubetumi afa number na the screen as so no place you order. So open aduane papa pa dia ni nyina any traffic foods.
Talk Parliament. What is this? Talk Parliament. What is all this about?
Were you traumatized?
I was
not surprised.
I was like, hey. Not frightened. We've seen some before, but I did not, for the life of me, expect that from having just finished one vetting, one person, and we're just moving on to the next person, and suddenly all hell breaks. All hell breaks loose, and I was amazed to see a whole member of parliament carrying a chair and putting it on the table. The next time I saw pushing tables away, I saw a microphone being shifted away. I was, and in all of that, what amazed me was the sitting down, so very professional. I mean, she has class.
Aka fanti misumaka igwe cho. You seems to not to be clearly here on that day. From your narration, you only, even though you were here physically.
I was here, sitting here, and
now. Was there, you just mentioned that you saw some members from the rescue of Honorable Akando. Can you identify those majority from the majority side?
Yes, when I see him, I'll see him. I know the name, but it's not coming now.
So we'll show you a picture now,
okay,
for you to identify whether he was the one.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, one of them is Mr. Nkwa Kwame Pius, the Sefia Kontombra MP. He came by to surround Honorable Akando. Then there's a second one I can see in the video back. His picture I haven't seen.
Thank you very much for at least identifying one person. Now, honorable colleagues, do you have any question for the witness?
Thank you, Chair. I want to find out. You said the honorable member for Akontomra came to give some protection. Was he under any threat at that time? And who was that person?
So, when the scuffle started, the round were saying to the clerk, administer the oath, and she was like, no, I'm waiting for my leader. And then the front there became, hey, then two minority MPs moved to Akontombra, to the majority MPs. But I think then they quickly moved and came and sort of removed the minority MPs away from their colleague Honorable Akando, and they took position there. I don't know whether it was for protection or whatever, but that's what they did, and I think it's just a natural thing to want to protect your own. Nobody knew what would have happened here as a result of all that carrying of chairs.
To where the nominee, can you identify them?
When I see the pictures, I can identify. I remember one fair-colored one. I don't recollect the name, but when I see the pictures, I'll be able to tell. Yeah.
Would like to show you some pictures if we'll be able to identify that person.
Yes, I recognize Mr. Shaib Ahmed Jerry Wejagbawi. I recognize him being one of the people who came to. His intention for coming to stand by Honorable Akando, I cannot tell, but certainly he was one of them who came to stand by him. And I remember me saying, what are you people doing here? What are you people doing there? Then Pius and the other came and took over.
So that is the second deputy minority whip, one of the members who were suspended and recalled back. Okay. Any other further questions? Yours was so short. Thank you very much for attending upon this committee. We are grateful to you, Honorable Minister. We will call you again when the need arises. You are discharged.
Thank you very much.
So, honorable colleagues, we have been able to take witnesses, about 10 out of the 18. We have Honorable Ahin, Honorable Konis Dauda, Honorable Dominic Bigna Adana Nituo, Honorable Charles, as he was just identified by Honorable Minister for Fisheries. These are the honorable members who were supposed to appear before us today, Friday, since it was postponed. And they were not able to make it. We've not had any indication from the clerk. We would request respectfully that you invite them in addition to the following members of parliament who are supposed to be here on Monday. Honorable Alexander Peño Makin, Honorable Frank Anodompre, Honorable Roxanne Nelson Eche Kwame Dapamepo, Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaib, Honorable Al-Hassan Tampoli Suleimana, Honorable Michael Ochri Befi, Honorable Rudolph Amaku Jampa, Honorable Mustafa Yusuf, Dr. Fred Chei Asamoah, Honorable, and then you add again Mr. George Glory Opeku and Honorable Samuel Kujeto Blakwa to witness for him. He is to come with his counsel. On that note, I want to thank all of you. We have come to the end of today's sitting. We will continue with the public hearing, and I want to repeat it again. We'll continue with the public hearing again on Monday, 10 o'clock, to continue with in the breaking of chairs, tables, and so on and so forth. And so, members of the media, we will ask and beg of you that Monday you'll be with us. The Clerk of Parliament will also be joining us on Monday as well. We've invited him, and so he should be here because he was visibly seen in the video as well. Thank you very much and we hope that by the end of Monday we'll come to a conclusion and our report will be sent to the Speaker. May I also add that we've requested Mr. Speaker to extend 2 more days. We're supposed to present a report on Monday, but since we have lost 2 days, we requested Mr. Speaker to extend it, and God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Okay, so it's been an hour of questioning some witnesses who were present during the chaos that happened on the night of 30th January 2025. The chaos that the appointment committee, it happened in the during the vetting by the appointment committee. Now, today, the committee was supposed to question about 18 people, but according to the chairperson of the committee, only 10 were present. And from sources, about the 8 that were left, most of them are, but early.
Five of us are here. 2 of them does not mean anything. I mean, we have quorum to conduct business, we have numbers to take decisions, and we'll continue to take our decisions.
Finally, for me, do you have assurance that the members you have invited from the minority side will show up?
We know for entire of the videos and what really happened here. And if you call your name, you are not here, we'll show what you did and what they did. And Ghanaians will be the best judge if our report was right or not.
During your last meeting, did the marshal come here to tell you that Speaker is asking that you suspend? Hearing.
Well, that's the past. We talked about this already. It wasn't marshal at all. It was the clerk. I spoken to the clerk, and the clerk has asked us to continue. That's why we are here.
Them as hypocrites. Don't you think that flows?
Well, if you were here yesterday and you gave us all the assurance that you'll be here today, and all of, and you were here, one of them, actually, who today he's same person. I mean, how best would I describe the person if he can tell us? Yesterday he called me. I saw the call whilst we're engaging. that he would not be able to make it. And then all of a sudden, without talking to me, you went on air that I've been biased. You best describe it.
Has the Speaker directed you to hold in-camera settings?
No, the Speaker actually told me in person when he called that we should continue with the public hearing. Otherwise, initially, we all agreed that we said the second leg will be in camera, but that has been overruled by the Speaker. So we'll continue with the public hearing.
So what do you make of?
Thank you. Let's get another member of the committee.
I'm very surprised because Honorable Anyimadu was here, and we were in a meeting when he decided that he wanted to recluse himself because he's had a call from the leadership. Honorable even gave assurance that once they've not officially written, they wouldn't want to take any instruction from whatever quarters because they needed written instructions. And once he's not here, that means they've officially written to them that they shouldn't be part of this committee. I've always said that if we have nothing to ask, because honorable members of parliament and way things went, they are not happy with that. But if you want to negotiate, I don't think that is the way to go. At least you should have been here to also defend, you understand, as it has been a balanced work. If they are decided to be here, unfortunately, we don't have it. But at least we need to work and present our report.
Okay, so will you still present your report if they don't come on Monday? So go ahead to present your
We will do exactly that because we have a mandate and we need to...
majority side coming to be questioned. Are you satisfied with the responses from the witnesses you've questioned so far?
We were not very sure we were going to get all the witnesses because those who were located in the video, even though we invited a lot one from the minority side, because we leave it to the public to judge themselves, because we all knew what really happened on that fateful day. So I'm sure they are not very proud of what they did, so they wouldn't want to even explain anything. That is that. So it's over on our records anyway, and that record will not be any good record, I'm sure.
Has the committee, or is the committee planning to invite members of the media to also come and testify? Because they also reported on the issue.
I believe the committee would have to take a decision on that. For now, we have not. But I think it's a good suggestion that we have to. We can also order the minority side will say we have been the testimony so far, what people have said. I am also inclined that we made mistake, even majority side. There was a mistake somewhere because how do you give 1 hour each? You know, the schedules problems with it. So it's that everything that happened on that fateful day, the alone.
Now, finally, have you heard from the Speaker since your last hearing?
Yes, we have the mandate of the Speaker, and the Speaker gave us the go-ahead to do what we are doing. And I think we are on course. Yes, a report will present. Okay.
Thank you very much. So, hours of questioning from the special committee set up by Speaker to investigate the chaos that happened on the night of 30th January 2025. So far, the committee today has questioned about 10 people out of 18 that they plan to interview or to question the rest of the 8 and then from there they will report to the plenary. So it's been hours of questioning, and we'll bring you more when the committee sits next week. My name is Rachel Porte, Parliamentary Correspondent for GBC News.
GTV,